of his hand quickly.
They've been
on target.
Yeah, they've been able to run the quick routes, be able to slice it out there to the wide receivers. Now I think the second half, they have got to run the ball more effectively than they did in the first half. They've got to get things going because they cannot rely solely on Odell Beckham Jr. Not to mention these penalties. Right now, the Giants have 9 for 124 yards. They're averaging 6 on the season. And when you're on the road in the second half, if you continue to follow the undisciplined play and the selfish plays, they're going to catch up to you, and you're going to lose football games that way.
Well, it'll be interesting to see very early on in this second half if perhaps cooler heads prevail. Because it was a very ugly first half. Penalties, late hits, 3 players ejected. How about all of it, Laura Oakman?
I'll tell you, this is the first halftime report. I didn't talk any football with either coach. I walked out with Tom Coughlin, who was so angry/disappointed because, as we know, all week he's been stressing to his team, this is what the Rams do. They're trying to bait us. We have to stay cool, do not add fuel to the fire. He said, we definitely have not done that. He walked off the field shaking his head, just saying, this is not the way you play the game. This is not how it's meant to be played. Tom?
All right, Laura, thank you very much. First down, and Mason run out of bounds after a 12-yard gain. How about on Jeff Fisher's side of the ledger?
Well, as for Jeff Fisher, obviously it's a different feeling over there, but he did say right away there's no place for that in the game. But he also said it happened, it's over, we can't get caught up in that. We now need to focus on how to win this game, which comes down to we have to finally execute.
Rams have won 3 in a row. The Giants on a modest 2-game winning streak. Rams are trying to win their final 2 and close out the year with a 500 record. They lost last weekend. It's the 11th consecutive year without a winning season. Some of the numbers from the first half clearly tilting towards the Giants' side.
The rushing yards for the New York Giants has got to come into play. They've got to run the football successfully on first and second down here in the second half. Control the time of possession. Really let the big man up front take control of this game, because if they do not, and they get themselves in 3rd and longs, this Rams defense will take advantage of it, and that is when they put themselves back into football games.
Mason lowers his shoulder. Takes on Antrell Roll, and he's up to the 37-yard line. It brings up 3rd down and 5 for the Rams. Roll, a free agent at the end of the year. It's been written about, talked about a great deal. Final year of a 5-year contract after he left Arizona. Same old's true on the Giant defense for that man, Jason Pierre-Paul. Free play, it looks like. Paul jumped early, and they just throw it down the sideline. It's intercepted. And this might be the second interception that is not to be for Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. This would be an automatic first down if it is offsides.
Offside, number 90 defense, 5-yard penalty, and the result of the penalty is a first down.
Sean Hill doing a great job with the cadence, changing up, giving the hard counts. See JPP start that one early, get a free play, and like you said, this is the second time Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie has had an interception. The first one, pass interference on him. This one, the defensive offsides.
We had a very interesting conversation yesterday with Jason Pierre-Paul about his imminent free agency at the end of this year. Well, it seems like everybody has written and or talked about Paul, who frequently has said, look, I want to stay with the Giants. And he said that to us yesterday. But he followed that up immediately with basically, make no mistake about it, if there's a lot of fooling around and a lot of hesitating in being able to get on the same page, I will look forward to exploring free agency and hearing what other teams have to say.
He said, I will test the free agency market. He said, I'm 25 years old, which is amazing. You don't think about it, but when he was drafted, he was 20 years old. At 25, He said his best football's ahead of him, and he said if it's not in New York, unfortunately, he'll have to take his talent somewhere else because he thinks that he has got a lot left in the tank, and we haven't seen the best of him.
Said he's played through a stinger for the first time in his career this year. What does that mean, David? We hear that term all the time. When a player is playing all year with a stinger.
A stinger is almost whiplash. When you get that jerk, that twist, that torque to your neck where you're pinching a nerve, when it happens, it feels like there's a cigarette going out inside your neck, and it is the worst thing. And the problem with stingers are they continue to linger because it takes so long for your nerves to regenerate. When you're playing football and you're in the NFL for 17 straight weeks of pounding, you're not going to get rid of that until the season's over.
We're down at 6, blitz coming. Boy, Hill took a shot for the second time from Jameel McClain today.
Harry Fuel, great design. I mean, look, you've got roamers. There's only 2 people in the stance. You got Kerry Wynn up in the 2-point stance. They fire out McClain. Confusion on the offensive side of the ball. No communication with the offensive line. Incomplete pass and another big hit by Jameel McClain on Sean Hill. Just poor communication and poor performance right there on that third down.
Fair catch inside the 15 by Odell Beckham Jr. 2013, Giants have the ball for the first time in the second half when we return. Giants get the football for the first time here in the third quarter. And Eli Manning will turn and hand it off to Andre Williams. Took a big hit from Janoris Jenkins, and it's Jenkins who's down on the ground. We talked about earlier now, when Williams is coming at you and gets a little steam behind him, more times than not, it's Andre Williams who delivers the shot.
The power with his lower body, his ability to continue to hit, just his leverage. He just gets underneath people and lowers the boom. Ooh, looks definitely like a shoulder or neck. We were just talking about a stinger. You could tell he definitely got hurt on that one.
Unfortunately, Janoris Jenkins was able to get back on his feet and ran to the sideline. And E.J. Gaines, their other starting corner, was injured earlier. He has returned. Second down and 4. Ruben Randall had the big 49-yard reception on the opening drive for the Giants in the first quarter, and that one will move the chains up to the 30 or the 29-yard line.
Very nice catch, very nice job at the bottom. Had a bunch formation. You know, they had Ogletree run the out. Ruben Randall ran the inside post that freed things up. And
Williams cuts it back to the inside. Out across the 50, runs through one tackler, still on his feet inside the 45, all the way down to the 25-yard line.
We just talked about his power and his ability to run through people. Well, he just ran through Rodney McLeod on that one. Nice blocking at the point of attack. You see J.D. Walton get to the second level to make a key block on Laurinaitis. And Andre Williams just accelerating through the hole and having a huge gain. We said that, you know, he may not have the yards per carry that you want to have on the season, but that was a big momentum changing play, and that's what they need out of this run.
Darkwa replaces Williams. Penalty flag comes in late after the 49-yard run by Williams.
Number 65 offense, 10-yard penalty remains, first down.
It's William Beattie's third penalty of the game, 3 holding calls. He's got to make sure that he's careful and gets his hands inside. Granted, I know that you're going up against tough guys, but when you're playing the left tackle position, you've already been called once. They're eyeing you down for the rest of the game.
10th penalty against the Giants. And we're just a little more than 5 minutes into the second half.
On a team that averages 6 a game. This is undisciplined football, and you know Coach Coughlin is not happy about that.
down. Dumped off to Darkland. Another penalty flag comes in.
I think they're
Personal
going to
foul,
Eugene
roughing the
Sims.
passer, number 97.
Yep.
15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Eugene Sims. It's only the third penalty on the Rams in this game.
That's the 5th personal foul on Eugene Sims this season, which is just unbelievable. You see Eli Manning already has the ball let go, that little extra hit and that smash down to the ground. You know officials are going to do whatever they can to protect quarterbacks.
Sims in his 5th year out of West Texas A&M. And we mentioned, David just said it, his 5th personal foul penalty. And that is more than any player in the league. And remember, Sims is a backup defensive lineman. Janoris Jenkins is just checked back in for the Rams.
Back down, back down! Go!
Williams on first down to the 10.
Daniel Fells on the backside of that play had a nice cutoff where Andre Williams was able to cut that ball right off of him, right behind him, and to continue to move the chains. And you know, we talked about it, and I said right away, starting this second half, they needed to do a good job of establishing the run and sticking to it, and they most certainly have in this drive.
Beckham in motion. Reinowski in the front end of the eye, and they give it to Williams. Laurinaitis wrapped him up, but not before Williams was able to get down to the 7-yard line. So bring up 3rd down and 3. Only 1 sack for each team so far in this game today. Gotta believe the Giants are gonna throw it on 3rd down and 3. They do. Catch made, and getting into the end zone is Ruben Randall, and that is a touchdown for the Giants.
Another nice play design. Earlier in the drive, we saw Ruben Randall take the inside, Ogletree take the outside. This time they flip-flopped in that bunch route. This time Ogletree took the inside. Ruben Randall off of that little pick rub takes the outside, is able to extend it and get that touchdown. Very nice drive, very nice play call by Ben McAdoo in this offense.
And some jawing going on between the offensive and defensive lines after the touchdown. Brown the point after to make it a 27-13 game, and they're jawing again. Randall the touchdown, just his 3rd of the year. Well, welcome back to St. Louis, where this crowd is still standing and cheering. A moment ago, Colonel Brant Deck. His wife knew he was going to surprise a family today back from Afghanistan. His daughters, Amanda and Casey, did not know him. They turned around. Husband and dad just landed back in the United States of America this morning. Colonel Brant Deck. What a... If that doesn't bring you to tears, I'm not quite sure what does. Here in the Christmas season. And those 2 young ladies have dad home. All right, Rams need to get something going here. 7:25 to play in the 3rd quarter. They're down by a pair of touchdowns. First down catch made by Cook, the tight end, and that's a good way to get a drive started. That'll be a gain of 11. Rams not much to speak of on offense. So 1 turnover by Hill. He's had an interception. When they've given it to Mason, he's had some decent runs. They just haven't really committed to the run much.
They said this season when Trey Mason has over 19 carries, their success of winning is over 80%. They've got to feed him the football here in the second half and try to find some balance on the offensive side of the ball.
They're going to swing it on first down. Dangerous throw, but a nice catch made over there by the 6-year veteran Kenny Britt out of Rutgers. A native of New Jersey is Britt. Spent his first 5 years in Tennessee, 3 of those while Jeff Fisher was the head coach.
Kenny Britt's a big-bodied wide receiver, very physical. And this is the best season that he's had in his career since 2010. So the reemergence of him, Jeff Fisher, bringing him here to St. Louis and giving him a second chance after all the off-the-field problems. He's been a guy who's taken advantage of this new opportunity that he's been given.
There's Mason, and that'll be good enough to move the chains on 2nd and 2. He's out across the 30 up to the 32-yard line. Tonight on Fox Sports Live, get a complete update on what's going on in the NFL. You'll get highlights, analysis of all the games. Randy Moss, Donovan McNabb on Fox Sports Live. That's at 11 o'clock Eastern on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. 5:40 to play in the third quarter. First down for St. Louis. Quick hitter. And up to the 39-yard line. Once more, Kenny Britt. Have an injured player, Rogers Cromartie, down for the Giants. All right, you know about the Cardinals and the defending Super Bowl champion Seahawks. That'll be later tonight. We know the Lions are in the playoffs. The Packers are in the playoffs. Next week, they will play to determine the division champ, and it looks like a first-round bye. Cowboys, they're still not officially in yet, although that Philadelphia loss yesterday and the Cowboys today are about 15 minutes away from wrapping up a playoff spot and the divisional title. They are destroying Indianapolis. And then a winner-take-all, Panthers v. Falcons next week. All right, AFC, New England division champ, home field advantage. Denver division champ, plays tomorrow night at Cincinnati, trying to get in. Indianapolis, already a division champion. Steelers clinch a playoff spot today. The Chargers, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Bills, the Texans, the Chiefs all have a fighting chance to get the one remaining unclaimed playoff spot.
And this is why you absolutely love the NFL in December, late in the season. And that's been the division that everybody's been watching this season. Everybody over 500 by 2 games. I mean, it's going to come down to the wire here, and that's exactly what we want as fans of this great game.
We talked about earlier, Rogers Cromartie, all of the injuries he's had to deal with this season. And the one that's plagued him most recently is a shoulder. And you wonder if he didn't re-aggravate it there just by his body action.
Could you see him holding on to that left arm, grabbing it by the wrist, and that usually means you're holding it there to support your arm and your shoulder and to kind of hold it into place if you can.
And straight right arm, which generally leads you to believe it could be a re-aggravated shoulder injury there. You know, you played for Tom Coughlin, David Deal, over the last 10 years before stepping away from the game at the end of last year. With everything that went on at halftime, what do you think he had to say to the team?
I think he told the team to come out here and just play focused football. Be disciplined here. Make sure that we take control of our game. Let's run the ball successfully. Defense, let's step up and continue to play the way that we were. But let's play sound, disciplined football, because Coach Coughlin, throughout the entire time that I've played for him, and now that you'll see him, he harps the 2 biggest things: penalties and turnovers. Absolutely lose football games. There's no doubt about that. And when you're in a game like this and you've got over 10 penalties like they do right now, the margin for error is so slim, regardless of what the score of the game right now.
All right, I want to get back and ask you a little bit about the future of Tom Coughlin, because when we had the Giants 3 weeks ago, they had lost 7 straight games. Here's Tavon Austin trying to turn the corner, and he does. And steps out of bounds at the 36-yard line. That'll be a first down. Coughlin has won the last 2 weeks. You felt at the time that the Giants needed to win a couple of more games between that point and the end of the year. Well, here they've now won their last 2. And a lot of reports in and around New York are virtually saying that Tom Coughlin is coming back next year as head coach, although there's obviously no official word on that from anybody. The Maras, the Trishes, even Coach Coughlin is not talking about it, and they will figure it out at the end of the year. It's just so hard to imagine this guy is not the head coach of the Giants.
Well, I've never been surprised that Coach Coughlin doesn't talk about it, and let's face it, this is far from the first time that he's been in this situation where his job has been on the line. I mean, I think back, even 2-3 years into his job, they were already calling for his job. And that's the thing about Coach Coughlin is week in and week out, day in and day out, you know exactly what you're getting out of him. He brings the intensity, he brings the energy, and you wouldn't expect that he is the age that he is because of the way that he approaches the game and how he acts around this new generation of football players. He's found a way to adapt and be able to speak to them and communicate clearly with them. And we've heard this football team rally around him and say that we want to continue to grow and win football games for Coach Coughlin. So when your players are saying that and they're responding off of it, it's a clear sign that he hasn't lost the locker room. Secondly, who are you going to replace him with? You're talking about Coach Coughlin, who has 2 Super Bowl trophies, is in the top 3 of all-time wins right now of coaches that have been coaching during this time period. In order to bring in a coach into New York City, it better be a face with credentials and a background that's reputable, because you can't go down Fifth Avenue with just any coach in New York City.
That is for sure. Carry by Mason inside the 15, down to the 13. Good carry on first down. Tell you, when the man walks in a room, you can't help but have respect. He has earned others' respect. Not only what he's done as a head coach, but the way he is as a man. This is a good man who's been a good coach and won a lot of games for a long time. He's somebody all can and should look up to. Mason trying to get to the first down marker, needed to get to the 11. Penalty flag down.
Number 69 offense, 10-yard penalty remains, second down.
You know, now the flip side of it all, some would say this is the 3rd year in a row the Giants haven't gone to the playoffs. So, you know, look, there are certainly arguments on both sides. But just watching the way the Giants are closing out the year, and you can say, well, who are they beating? Well, you know what? They beat a Washington team last week that lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, that beat the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday. So no games in this league anymore are a gimme.
We have over 20 players on injured reserve, which is the most, I think, in Giants history. And you've installed a completely different offense with new quarterback.
And there is a touchdown reception to Lance Kendricks. 4th-year tight end out of Wisconsin, and all of a sudden, the Rams within a touchdown.
Lance Kendricks is an absolute threat down the seams. They look for one-on-one matchups against linebackers. On that one, you see Mark Herzlich tries to jam him. He doesn't disrupt his routes enough. Can't get back into coverage. They beat him over the top, and he's able to continue to fight through that, run through Antrell Roll, trying to come over to make the tackle and to get a touchdown.
You know, when the Rams brought in Jared Cook prior to last year, it took a lot of catches and a lot of playing time away from Kendricks, whose career was off to a great start. But the touchdown there, his 5th of the season. And we've got a good one here in St. Louis. 90-yard drive and a touchdown for the Rams. 10 plays, 90 yards, 23-yard touchdown reception by Kendricks. And Hill perfect on the drive, hitting 6 out of 6.
And this right now is the time in the second half when the St. Louis Rams defense turns it up a notch. And the thing about this is in the 3rd quarter, the Rams have had struggling putting points on the board. And this time they actually came away with it. You think about last week against the Arizona Cardinals. They went 3 and out every single series of the third quarter and didn't have a first down till the fourth.
Went Debs back up to the 18-yard line. Very funny new series coming to Fox in January called Backstrom. Stars Rainn Wilson as a brilliant but eccentric policeman who solves the toughest crimes. That's a series premiere Thursday, January 22nd on Fox. It's been a very quiet day for this highly touted Rams defensive front. A loss of a yard on first down. McDonald coming up to make the tackle. You know, it's always interesting that the Rams came in with all the pub coming into the year based on what they did last year. First round draft picks along that defensive line of Long, Donald this year, Michael Brockers, and of course Robert Quinn going back to 2011. They got off to a terrible start. They had 6 sacks in the first 8 weeks of the season. They've been piling them up lately, a lot like this Giants defensive line. Manning. That should have been intercepted by Gaines, and he's hurt. Collided with a crossing receiver. It looked like Beckham.
It's friendly fire. TJ McDonald was coming over to lay the big hit. Beckham saw it coming and was able to slip out of the way and actually hit his own guy, E.J. Gaines.
His helmet came off. You look at it in slow motion, it's very different than in real speed. I mean, TJ McDonald had basically launched his body like a missile to try and hit Odell Beckham Jr., whom he was anticipating would make the catch on that throw, and wound up hitting his own man, E.J. Gaines, who had to leave the game already today with another injury. Obviously, no intent there by McDonald, but you can understand by watching that play alone why the NFL is so concerned about players launching at another player. In slow motion, it's one thing. Full speed, that's a weapon. Well, certainly blessings to be counted as E.J. Gaines is able to sit up and now stand up and walk off the field. I don't know how it looked on television. We do our best to give you an idea of what it's like all the time. To see that in person, scary stuff. Let's check in back in L.A. with Kurt Menefee.
Well, it's all but over in the NFC East. Tony Romo, 4 touchdown passes in 3 quarters. This one to Jason Witten, part of a 35-0 lead over Indy. The Cowboys win. They win the NFC East and officially eliminate the Eagles. Tom and David?
All right, Kurt, thank you very much.
Cleaning the blood, it looks like, off of the field. Was that still him?
That's still him. He got up and started to walk off and had to go back down on one knee. Or maybe they saw something that they needed to, that blood you're talking about.
Yeah, because he's got that towel covering up his mouth. I think it's either his nose or his mouth is bleeding. Yeah, it's a vicious hit.
Certainly, we hope that E.J. Gaines is going to be all right. We're just thankful. Yep. Thank God for that.
Young player with a promising career ahead of him, that's for sure.
Missouri kid, brought up earlier, born and raised in Independence, Missouri.
He's only given up 1 touchdown on the season.
All right, a third down and 10. Under a minute to go in the third quarter. Giants with a 7-point lead. Manning, the long ball to Beckham, and that's all she wrote for a touchdown. '80-yard touchdown for the remarkable Odell Beckham Jr. Second touchdown today, his 11th on the year. Already the Giants rookie record holder for touchdowns and receiving yards.
See him on the inside here. They're going to Ruben Randle him. He's just going to take a double move. He's going to fake like he's hitting it outside. Runs the fly right through the middle of that team down the seam. Just explosiveness. His ability to get open, start, stop, clean breaks. Not to mention the time that he's had now playing. Eli Manning and Odell Beckham Jr. are clearly on the same page.
6 catches, 110 yards for Beckham. That is the 8th consecutive game he has had 90 receiving yards or more. That is 1 game shy of an NFL record set by Michael Irvin in 1995.
It was Odell Beckham Jr. right on the inside, and like we said, you see the coverage trying to come over and help. You see the 1 jump, 2 jump inside to take Ruben Randle. And only 1 backside. Rodney, my mistake, TJ McDonald isn't able to come over for the back support. He's drawn to the opposite side of the field, and I don't know how you take your eyes off of number 13. He's the one that you should be watching.
Well, Eli Manning told us, said, look, you know, when you do all the blitzing that Greg Robinson does in this defense to try and hit the quarterback, that is their goal, to hit the quarterback before he can find an open receiver. But if you don't get to the quarterback, there are big plays to be made.
There most certainly are, because when you bring that and you bring the different amount of pressures and you bring the blitz, if you don't get home, you're putting corners and defensive backs one-on-one. And when you do that against an explosive player like Odell Beckham Jr., you don't get home on that blitz, he's going to take advantage of it.
So Beckham will have a chance to tie an NFL record in the final game of the regular season next week. They'll need 90 or more receiving yards. He's always having a good time with his mates.
They say that he could have been on the national soccer team when he was a kid. He didn't want to go overseas. But just a young, enthusiastic player who loves the game of football, and obviously he loves to perform and entertain, that's for sure.
Still a long way to go in this one. 39 seconds in the third quarter. Rams coming off a 10-play, 90-yard touchdown drive. Kendricks left wide open. Shoved out of bounds. And a first down up to the 34. Let's go downstairs to Laura Oakman.
Tom, I'm going to update you on 2 injuries. Unfortunately, it's a busy day today. E.J. Gaines, we saw him leave on the Cardinal locker room. He's being evaluated for a head injury, for a concussion. As for Rogers Cromartie, we saw him leave. Trainers have been working on him since he went out. It is a burner, Tom.
All right, Laura, thank you very much. 10 seconds remaining in this third quarter. Looks like the Rams. We'll run one more play. The double reverse, and look out. Austin with blockers in front of him. What a play by Paul to fight off a would-be blocker and at least slow Austin down. That is an excellent play by Jason Pierre-Paul. Now, wait a minute now. Not sure if we have a penalty flag. The officials are gathering back at the 30-yard line. I still don't see a penalty flag down. There it is, far sideline.
Here come the Rams cheerleaders for a Buffalo Wild Wings performance.
Illegal motion, offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down, and the end of the quarter.
All right, so that's the end of the third quarter. Giants 34, Rams 20. Fox NFL Sunday continues after a break from your local Fox station. (34-20) as we begin the fourth quarter. Alongside David Deal, Laura Oakman, our entire Fox crew, wishing you and yours an early Merry Christmas and a happy holiday season. Hill going for the long ball of his own. Well, it looked like a little bit of contact down the field between Zach Bowman and Kenny Britt, but no penalty flag.
Zach Bowman definitely, I think, got away with this one. Sean Hill had to definitely put that one out there more for Kenny Britt, because if he would have, that would have been a touchdown. That is surprising that he got away with that little touch pull at the end of that play.
Second down. And Cunningham spins away from one tackle. He's up to the 40s, 4 yards short of the first down after the penalty.
Gain of 11. 3rd and 4 from the Rams.
Hill 18 out of 24, touchdown and interception, 198 yards. Eli Manning has had a brilliant day. 20 of 23, over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, no turnovers. Rams 0 for 3 on 3rd down and make it 0 for 4. Wrapped up by Kerry Wynn, who had the interception earlier in the game.
Started with Kennard ripping off of the edge. He actually had 2 guys going to block one for Sean Hill to step up. Kerry Wynn, with the relentless pressure, was able to come up with another big sack for this Giants defense and forced the Rams to punt.
Now Beckham Jr. waits on the punt from Johnny Hecker. And angling towards the sideline, a fair catch by Beckham inside the 5. It's been a good day again for the rookie Kerry Wynn. Welcome back to St. Louis. We talked about both these quarterbacks a moment ago. Eli Manning has been so sharp, and his offensive line, you can't begin to describe the job this group has done here today. Talking about the penalties, their left tackle Beatty has had today, 3 holding penalties, but the bottom line is we have not even called Robert Quinn's name. So Beatty might have the 3 tackles, but Quinn does not have a sack.
No, he does not. And you just think about the rest of the group. Aaron Donald doesn't have any sacks or many pressures. Chris Long neither. So you've got to give a lot of credit to this Giants offensive line. We said early in the game that they were going to be challenged. They were the key players for this game, and they have definitely risen to the challenge.
Williams ran into his own man and runs into Laurinaitis. It'll bring up 3rd down and 5. James Laurinaitis starting his 95th consecutive game at middle linebacker for these Rams. He is closing in on Merlin Olsen's all-time record for tackles in franchise history. Oh, what an outstanding player he has been. 2nd-round draft pick in 2009 out of Ohio State. Giants 6 out of 10 on 3rd down. Beckham again. And he's close to midfield. He beat Tremaine Johnson down the sideline, and Johnson, the man replacing the injured E.J. Gaines.
Once again, Tremaine Johnson is going to take that inside leverage. He's going to try to press him, tries to get off of him, lets him go, doesn't get a single hand on to reroute him. I know that you're trying to use the sideline as a boundary, but you've got to make sure that you are tight and hug onto that hip of that route so that you can either get a hand on it or force him out of bounds.
Darko had his first career touchdown earlier in the game, wrapped up by McDonald. And now a couple of players out of the midfield line. getting tangled up, and again, Alec Ogletree is right in the middle of all of it. Standing over and straddling John Jerry.
No gain, second and 10.
Ogletree had the late hit, well out of bounds in the second quarter, which prompted the melee where 3 were ejected. Preston Parker probably should have been thrown out twice. Oh boy. And there's a big hit, leading with the crown of the helmet. Tell you, this Rams team is really bordering on dirty football here today. And there might be a lot of people that don't like that and don't want to hear it. But there have been some incredibly either late hits or unnecessary hits that have occurred in this game. Now they're talking about it. Perhaps they're not going to see it this way.
Clearly all that attention was directed right at Odell Beckham Jr. We heard Laura Oakman saying that these defensive backs were not happy with the way he spun the ball, his attitude.
Play for a late hit. Third down.
Well, you could tell they were debating it and thinking about it. One official believing that McLeod was leading with his helmet, and he's down there talking to Beckham.
I agree with it. It doesn't look like it was out of bounds. His feet were still in. The ball was uncatchable.
Fair enough. Well, obviously, you had 2 officials that saw it a little bit differently, but then they try and, as they always do, get it right. You know, look, I'm not going to back down from what I just said a moment ago, and it's not getting on a soapbox. But there have not been any late hits by one team in this game. There have been a number of late hits by the other team in this game.
As I stated earlier, in this type of game, when we play up against this defense, we go up against a Greg Williams defense as an offensive line. You'd go get your guys out of piles. You'd make sure that you protect them because they're going to try to hit, they're going to try to disrupt and try to do whatever they can mentally to get you out of your game.
Giants have been by far the more penalized team today. 34-20 with 10:28 to play. Yep. 34-20. Giants will punt it away on a 4th down and a yard. And the question is, do they draw them off sides, which would be an automatic first down. Much was made leading up to this game about all the fake punts.
Defense, encroachment, number 98. 5-yard penalty. The result of the penalty is a first down.
You know, about all the fake punts Jeff Fisher has tried as a head coach, almost 30 of them in his career, 3 of them this year. And Paul Schwartz, a writer back in New York, actually went digging around after it was initially said that Tom Coughlin had never tried it. He's tried it twice. But this is just as good as a fake punt.
It is. You give him the hard count. We call that saying no-brainer. Watch the ball. You saw him switch quickly, thinking that they were going to go for the first down offensively. They run out the punt unit. They gave a little quick one, and you see the little quick point by Mark Herzlich, and they went off on it.
Automatic first down, and 10:28 to play in the 4th quarter. Williams thrown down at the 32-yard line.
I think they're going to get a holding call on J.D. Walton.
Holding, number 65 offense. 10-yard penalty. Still first down.
Actually called William Beatty.
Well, sometimes they mess up those numbers. They'll think 55 instead of 65, and it well could have been on 55.
I thought it was on J.D. Walton trying to reach Michael Brockers there at the point of attack. He's seen him almost get his arm around and almost hug him at the hip to not give up that penetration. So that's why I thought J.D. Walton was going to be the one called with it.
That is the 11th penalty against the Giants for 134 yards. We're closing in on a single-game record for a number of penalties by two teams in a game. In the hands of Beckham. Got a nice block from Ogletree. And he's run out of bounds at the 42.
You're right, Tom. Great block by Ogletree, and Brandon Fells out there, Daniel Fells out there to set that up and to spring him for an extra gain. And that is the thing about Odell Beckham Jr. or a player like Tavon Austin on the other side. Just get them into space. Let them use their athletic ability and their explosiveness to the best of their ability.
Manning to Fells, a one-time Ram. He makes the catch just short of a first down, but after the Giants penalty, it is a third down coming up.
I know earlier in the game I called out Andre Williams for his block and giving up the sack to T.J. McDonald. But since that point, Andre Williams has done a fantastic job picking up blitzes and making sure that he is the aggressive one to stop him at the point of attack so that it cannot continue to rush and get any type of pressure or sack on Eli Manning.
And they're coming after him again. And nearly intercepted by Janoris Jenkins. That's one he'd like to have another crack at.
Janoris Jenkins over the last 3 years has 6 defensive touchdowns, which is the most in the NFL. He is a player that will gamble, he will take shots, he will ball hawk, and that is one that he usually comes up with.
This will be a long field goal try, but much like Zerline on one side, Josh Brown has more than enough leg for a 52-yarder. And this one is plenty good enough. Boy, both of these guys can really touch the football. 33rd career field goal of 50-plus yards for Josh Brown. That is 6th most all time. Giants rolled in St. Louis. We'll look at part of our dynamic duo there in the booth. Legendary Bob Stenner, our producer today. Greg Scopatone, our director. 37-20 in favor of the New York Giants. There's been so much talk this week, after really not a lot of talk at all about the NFL, which for years now has been in active pursuit, about the possibility of going to Los Angeles again. We'll get back to that in a minute. A reminder, Big East basketball, a marathon coming your way on New Year's Day. Begins at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Goes all the way to midnight, only on Fox Sports 1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Stan Kroenke on the right, the owner and chairman of the St. Louis Rams. A lot of talk as recently as 2 weeks ago that the Rams might be leaving. Stanley Kroenke owns a lot of land recently purchased over by the now defunct Hollywood Park, over by the old Forum in Los Angeles, and that perhaps he would be interested in moving this franchise back to Los Angeles, of course, from where they came over 20 years ago. But then the San Diego Chargers this week announced that they would be playing in San Diego next year. And, of course, they've long been rumored to make the trip north to Los Angeles. The Raiders are still always a possibility. And while no announcement has officially made here in St. Louis that the Rams are definitely coming back, their lease is up. They may be forced to just go along to get along on a year-by-year basis. Some felt this could have been the last home game ever for the Rams in St. Louis.
It's actually funny. I was actually talking to Peggy, who's sitting right next to us in the booth, and she was saying the same thing, that she was praying that this wasn't the last time that she would be sitting in her season tickets.
Well, 1960, the Cardinals arrived. They had a couple of NFC East titles, but not a lot of success. They took off for Arizona under the Bidwell ownership group. 95, almost 20 years ago, had the great success under Dick Vermeil. But, the history of football professionally in St. Louis, whether it's the Cardinals or the Rams, outside of the 99 year and a year here and a year there around it, there has not been a lot of success, which, you know, generally would lead somebody to believe that fans don't come to the games and, you know, they're not supporting the team. Nothing could be further from the truth, as there is a penalty flag down in this 37-20 game.
10-yard penalty remains, third down.
This year, the Rams have their highest home attendance average since 2008. They have filled the stadium to 89% capacity, and it is a sterile stadium. And what you have to remember is now, there is only one franchise in the NFL that has lost more games over the last 10 seasons than the St. Louis Rams. Yet, their fans have done I think, a quite supported job. I think you agree, David Deal, of getting behind a franchise which is doing really nothing but losing, not only in the last decade, but really a lot of losing over 48 years of football in St. Louis. They've only been in the playoffs 8 times in 48 years.
No, and when we're sitting here talking about all this, it just for me, it would just be so weird and just wrong to not have a team here in St. Louis in this great state. And you know, we've talked to fans around here. We talked to a lot of people, and they couldn't see not having this team here and coming to watch them on Sundays, regardless of their record. This is something that becomes part of people's families and tradition. And you know, like I stated, Peggy sitting next to us, she said she wouldn't know what she would do with herself if her and her husband couldn't come to the games and have the experiences that they've had with not only each other, but they've had with their kids as well.
Well, perhaps Peggy and so many others will have a chance to watch Rams football next year, but you can rest assured, I mean, once the season gets close next August and September, a lot of this same conversation is going to start up again. This is the most penalized single football game for two teams combined this year. Cook along the sideline, went out of bounds. Clock stops with 7:09 to play in the game, and the Rams will punt.
4th and 13 from the Rams 35.
You and I were talking about watching the 49er game last night. Brand new stadium, right?
Yep.
A team that over the last 3+ seasons has been among the best in the NFL. And when they kicked off last night, half that stadium was empty. Well, here you have the Rams. They've already been eliminated as well. And there weren't a lot of empty seats in this building when this game began. No, there weren't. And that was actually surprising when we were sitting there watching the game. We couldn't believe in a game like that, on this type of weekend close to the holidays, that it wouldn't be a jam-packed stadium. Seems like as this season has gone on, we're talking about rookie records, Giants team records, that Odell Beckham Jr. is tying or shattering. His 2 games before this one, he had 23 catches for 273 yards and 4 touchdowns. And what about today? 8 receptions, 148 yards. Had this touchdown in the opening quarter. And then the 80-yard touchdown just a moment ago. They even used him out of the backfield, taking a center snap and shotgun. And that's one of the most unbelievable things about him is not only just his talent physically, but mentally, how sharp and how smart that he is, and how well that he's been able to pick up this offense. They line him up all over the field, and his first game as a Giant after coming back from the hamstring injury, he actually lined up at 5 different positions on the football field. So when you have a type of player like this, who's not only just dynamic and as explosive as he is athletically, his game's all between his ears, and that's the one thing that Ben McAdoo and Eli Manning both stressed, is that he is a student of the game, and his ability to watch film and understand defenses and coverages has only gotten better and better and better. Hey, which one do you want to go? Laura Oakland was talking with many of Beckham's teammates, and Beckham himself tried to hang on to that one one-handed. They will punt it away. How about a little bit more on Odell Beckham, and especially moving forward, Laura, and making sure he stays on the path that, you know, some other guys tend to drift off that path in the big city.
That's what's nice about talking to him and talking about him, because it's what David said, how hard he studies football. He's studying what to do off the field just as hard. We've heard stories how he's talked to LeBron James, he's talked to Jerry Rice, Michael Jordan. Odell's the one that's reached out to them. So I asked him, when you call these guys, when you meet with them, what are you asking? And he said, my biggest question is, what does it take? And I said, what's the biggest takeaway you've gotten from all of them? And he said, every one of them. Jordan, Jerry Rice has said, and LeBron, handle your business on the field. Off the field comes with it. Don't focus on that. Learn what you're doing on the field first. And that is what the Giants say they're most impressed with.
Well, you certainly hope that that he does it the right way. I mean, David, you played with a lot of guys. I mean, in New York, boy, you can be the talk of the town, the toast of the town, and then you're the town goat. And it doesn't take a lot of time in between.
You can go from hero to zero overnight, and it's all about the way that you handle yourself and prepare yourself each and every Sunday, and they couldn't be more right. If you want to do things off of the football field, your profession and your job is in between these lines on the football field. Everything else takes care of itself. But if you don't take care of business out on the football field, all the extra stuff does not matter.
Penalty flag again.
Holding, number 79 offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
9th penalty of the game on the Rams. You know, we talked about the offensive line of the Giants and the job they've done today. You know, you can give a lot of credit to the offensive line as well for the Rams today. I mean, the Giants in their last 3 games had 22 sacks. They only have 1 of them, now 2 of them today. And that's a rookie. Greg Robinson has been lined up all day long on Jason Pierre-Paul. Penalty flag again. And now another flag comes in.
There are 2 fouls on the defense. Holding, number 95, personal foul. That penalty is declined. Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 99. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That is a first roughing the passer penalty against a New York Giant this season.
You see Cullen Jenkins continue with that rush. That ball is clearly out of Sean Hill's hands and gets a penalty for the late hit.
Under 5 minutes to go here in St. Louis.
After the penalty. First and 10 Rams.
Rams came in winners of 3 in a row. Giants are 446 away from winning their 3rd in a row. Of course, that's on the heels of what was a 7-game losing streak. Britt, a gain of 9 on first down. Nine hits on the quarterback, couple of sacks we mentioned earlier. And Hill has taken a couple of bruising hits in this game. Jameel McClain got him twice. Cook good enough for a first down into Giant territory. Boy, it sets up so many big games, David Deal. I mean, forget next weekend. You've got 2 huge games in basically the next 30 hours. Coming up later tonight, you have what in essence is a title fight for the NFC West, as there is a touchdown left all alone. Chris Gibbons. Complete breakdown there for the Giants. And now a chance to draw within 10.
Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie here is going one-on-one initially, but he thinks that Stevie Brown inside is going to come over and help. because he passes them to absolutely no one, and that's an easy touchdown for Chris Givens.
On the point after now by Zerline. 10-point game with 3:56 to go. All right, David Deal, I want to lean on you a little bit here over the next. Well, let's start with the next 24, 30 hours. Arizona, all the way down to its fourth quarterback. They have had an incredible year, the job that Bruce Arians has done. They are at home later tonight with a chance to win their division against a defending Super Bowl champion Seahawks, who have been on quite a roll. Your thoughts on that? Can Arizona win that game?
I think they're capable of winning that game because I'm a very big fan of Coach Broyles, the defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. His ability to just completely disrupt and stop offenses. He blitzes on run plays. He'll go blitz zero on first down. It does not matter. He will do whatever he can to ruin the timing of any other team coming into there. Having said that, the way that Seattle has been playing, they've been determined. They've stressed on how important they've been leaning on one another to compete against one another in practice, which they felt that they did not do well enough earlier in the season. And they're going out these Sundays and are playing sound, convincing football. I think the Seattle Seahawks win tonight.
Then I want to get to you about the decision that John Fox has to make about Peyton Manning looking ahead at tomorrow night, Denver in a big-time game at Cincinnati. Well, obviously the Rams thinking about an onside kick here. They have Odell Beckham Jr. in the second line, if you will, standing behind 5 Giants on this near side of the bottom of your screen. And that's where the onside kick goes, and it's out of bounds. So the Giants will get the football right there at midfield. The New England Patriots have already wrapped up.
Kickoff out of bounds. Penalty will be declined.
Home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. Indianapolis got boat race today down in Dallas, which basically means that the Denver Broncos, who play in Cincinnati tomorrow night, they've already clinched the playoff spot, they've already clinched their division. They only have to win one of their final 2 to make sure they are the other, or the number 2 seed in the AFC. Do you sit Peyton Manning tomorrow night in Cincinnati and take your chances of whatever happens there? Give him another week to fully recover and then start him in the season finale against Oakland with a chance to go ahead and nail down the number 2 seed? Or do you play him tomorrow night?
That's a great question. You know who I would love to get the answer from is Peyton Manning, because I'll tell you what, being around Eli Manning and being around this family, they are competitors, and they want to play in every single game. I mean, just look at the amount of consecutive starts. Eli has 166. Peyton's over 200. Unfortunately, Arch only had 54 because of his time in New Orleans. But I just think the way that Peyton Manning is, the type of football player that he is, he doesn't take Sundays off. If he has the opportunity and it's his choice, he's playing. This is John Fox's call on whether or not he is not.
That is going to be an extremely interesting decision for John Fox looking at that game tomorrow night. Because you know you're playing football in January if you're the Denver Broncos. Well, you talk about rare, having a running back rush for over 100 and a pair of receivers with over 100. Last time the Giants had one of those, got to go all the way back to October the 25th, 2010 in Big D.
Very impressive, and I think the one that stands out the most for me is Ruben Randall. Just think about if he didn't have the problems that he's had the last couple of weeks with Coach Coughlin being in the doghouse. I know what type of player that Ruben Randall is. I know what he's capable of. But you cannot be late to meetings. You can't do any of that stuff because it's not fair not only to yourself, but to the rest of your team. you've got to be an accountable guy. Because when you're not, and you do those things repetitively, do you think guys are looking at you thinking that they can trust you on the football field at key moments, at key times? I don't think so.
Timeout called by the Giants. All right, basically, here's the long and short of it. All the spots in the NFC playoffs, except for determining that final position as NFC South champion, are determined. The Seahawks are in with the Dallas win tonight. They are in the playoffs. It's a matter now of the Lions against the Packers as champions of the NFC North. They play next week. Seattle and Arizona will play tonight, and we can go to next week to determine a champion there. And all money on the table. Carolina, Atlanta. Winner take all, loser goes home. You can laugh and scoff at the NFC South, but one of those teams will be hosting a playoff game.
Anytime I think of that, I think about the Seattle Seahawks of 2010.
Yep.
Got in at 7-9, beat the New Orleans Saints at home, and it completely changed the feeling and the mentality of that franchise. And from that point forward, they have completely turned that thing around and have become a championship football team.
Big gainer here by Reuben Randall puts the Giants down to the 15-yard line. Gain of 31.
Gain of 31. First and 10, New York, Rams 15.
I tell you, the Giants are not taking their foot off the throttle. They are still slinging it around here with a 10-point lead and closing in on 3 minutes to go. Over 500 yards of offense for the Giants against this Greg Williams defense, who came in ranked 11th overall. The Rams have not had a top 10 ranked defense going back to 2001.
One of the unbelievable statistics that I think about is this is 10 straight seasons of over 3,000 yards passing for Eli Manning, which is number 4 in NFL history, behind Drew Brees, who has 11, Peyton Manning, who has 13, and the good old Brett Favre. He has 18.
Pitch it to Williams, cuts it back to the inside, stood up, and dropped it to 12 by Robert Quinn. And the Rams are going to spend a timeout. Have a 2-minute warning coming up in 12 seconds from now. It was interesting yesterday talking to Jason Pierre-Paul, and he says, you know, it looks like we're rebuilding looking ahead to next year. I found that a somewhat curious word choice, and that word has been used in the written press a great deal lately about this Giants team. You know, when you think about having Beckham, Eli Manning, Williams, maybe Jennings back, a healthy Victor Cruz, an improved Larry Donnell, perhaps you'll want to alter your offensive line a little bit. I don't know if that's a makeup of a rebuilding team or not.
I don't think that it is. I think that this season has definitely brought this team and this group closer together. The way that they've been able to handle adversity, fight through it together, but the strides that they've made as a football team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Here it is, 16 weeks into a brand new offense in their first NFL season with Ben McAdoo as their offensive coordinator. Each and every week, you've just seen the gradual improvement. Granted, the record is not the record that they want. This isn't what they were hoping for this season. They felt that they were a playoff caliber team. Unfortunately, they didn't come up with it. But you've got a lot to look for in the future. You talked earlier about Eli Manning. He's gone up in completion percentage. He's gone over in passing yard percentage. And this is the most important thing. I think the fact that he's only thrown 13 interceptions compared to 27 last season is everything.
Blocked field goal try by Darren Bates, and Will Herring picks it up.
Look at the athletic ability.
So 2 minutes to go, 10-point game. This may be not over quite yet. Look at Bates leapfrogging the center. Mercer. Some athleticism, wouldn't you say, Mr. Deal?
Darren Bates just completely hurdled Zach Tiasi, the long snapper. But even more impressive is how quickly the second jump came.
Snap over the head of Hill. And it looks like their guy's still down there wrestling for the football. And the Giants have recovered. The signal's already been given. If that's Kerry Wynn, that's a sack, a fumble recovery, and an interception in just his third NFL game.
And it is Kerry Wynn who comes up with it. Nice pass rush on the outside, is able to rip through, fight, and just continue to effort. Just effort by his part. And he's had an unbelievable game today.
Well, back-to-back games. I mean, you know, this is a guy that, you know, only weighs 264 pounds. And that's not very big for a defensive lineman. He's out of Richmond, which is a powerhouse Division II program. But nobody drafted this guy. And because of all the injuries they've had up and down that defensive line, he's getting a chance over this final month of the season. And man, when you get that shot, he's taking advantage of it.
Opportunities are never lost. Someone will take the one that you miss, and he's taken full advantage of the opportunity given to him. He has played sound football. He has really stepped up. And in his third career game as a player, he's been completely just nonstop today. I mean, just think about how much effort that he's played with today and his ability to just make big plays when they've needed him.
Our game today produced well, week 16 continues later tonight on NBC. And then tomorrow we talked about the game in Cincinnati. Our game today produced by Bob Stenner, directed by Greg Scopatone. Our technical producer is Bob Mullen. Our replay producer, Mark Titleman. Associate director, Yvonne Wagner. Broadcast associate, Mr. Jordan Wolf. We'd also like to thank our spotter, Scott Snyder, up here in the booth. And our entire stats crew. Tom Barbary up here with us. Eric Norton, Mike Eldridge downstairs in the truck. The New York Giants have made it 3 wins in a row. And the talk will continue leading up to week 17 about the future of Tom Coughlin. Will he be back as Giants head coach next year? They're certainly playing well down the stretch. Odell Beckham Jr., another monster game. 2 touchdowns, 8 catches, 148 receiving yards, breaks Jeremy Shockey's Giants rookie record for receptions in a season. 37-27, the final here in St. Louis. We'll be back with more in a moment.